The story of MASH is not just the story of a TV show. It is the story of how a simple idea turned into one of the most powerful and emotional series in television history. When MASH first came out in 1972, most people did not expect much from it. At that time, many TV shows were light, funny, and easy to watch. They were made mainly to entertain people after a long day. But MASH was different from the beginning. It was based on a book written by a real army doctor who had worked during the Korean War. This gave the story a real feeling, even though it was still a comedy show. The show mixed humor with serious topics like war, injury, fear, and death. This was not common on TV at that time. At first, many viewers did not understand it, and the ratings were not very strong. The show almost got canceled early on because it was not performing well. But something changed when it was moved to a better time slot. Suddenly, more people started watching it, and they began to see what made it special. The characters were not just funny people, they felt real. They had emotions, problems, and personal struggles. Viewers laughed at their jokes, but they also felt sad during emotional moments. This mix of comedy and deep emotion made MASH stand out from every other show. Slowly, it became one of the most loved shows on television. But behind this success, there were also problems that viewers did not see. As the show became more popular, the pressure behind the scenes also increased. Long working hours, creative disagreements, and changes in story direction started affecting the cast. Some actors were happy with the success, but others began to feel unhappy with how things were changing. This is where the real story of actor departures begins. As MASH continued to grow, the focus of the show started to shift. At the beginning, the show gave attention to many characters equally. But over time, one character, Hawkeye, started to become the main focus. This change was not planned to hurt anyone, but it naturally happened because audiences loved his humor and personality. However, not every actor was happy with this shift. Some felt that their roles were becoming smaller and less important. One of the first major exits was the actor who played Colonel Henry Blake. He was a kind and gentle leader in the show, and fans loved his friendly and sometimes confused personality. He brought a warm feeling to the series. But behind the scenes, the actor started feeling that his role was being reduced. He believed that the show was no longer balancing characters equally. He felt that his importance in the story was slowly fading away. Because of this, he made the difficult decision to leave the show. What made his exit unforgettable was how the writers handled it. Instead of giving him a simple goodbye, they created a shocking moment. In his final episode, Henry Blake was finally going home, and it felt like a happy ending. But suddenly, the story took a dark turn. The audience learned that his plane had been shot down, and he did not survive. This moment shocked millions of viewers. It was one of the first times a comedy show had ended a main character's story in such a tragic way. People were not prepared for it, and it became one of the most talked about moments in TV history. After leaving the show, the actor hoped to find success in other projects, but things did not go as planned. His new work did not reach the same level of popularity, and over time, he even admitted that leaving MASH might not have been the best decision. This marked the beginning of a pattern where several actors would later reflect on their exits with mixed feelings. Another important departure was the actor who played Trapper John. He was one of the original main characters and a close friend of Hawkeye in the show. Their friendship was a big part of the early seasons, and fans enjoyed their funny and loyal bond. Trapper brought charm, humor, and a relaxed attitude that balanced the emotional weight of war in the series. But behind the camera, things were not as smooth. The actor began to feel that the show was changing in a way that did not suit him. Like others, he felt that the attention was shifting too much toward Hawkeye. His character was slowly getting fewer important scenes, and he felt less involved in the main story. This made him frustrated because he had joined the show expecting a strong and equal role. Another factor that made his exit different was his contract situation. He did not have a strong long-term contract with the studio, which gave him more freedom to leave whenever he wanted. Eventually, he decided to take that opportunity. Unlike other exits, his departure was sudden. He left the show without a proper goodbye episode, which surprised both the cast and the audience. When the next season began, fans noticed that Trapper was simply gone. The show only briefly explained his absence, without showing a full emotional farewell. Many viewers felt disappointed because they had grown attached to his character and wanted closure. However, the show continued forward and introduced new characters to fill the gap. Over time, audiences adjusted, but the departure still remained one of the most sudden changes in the show's early history. It also showed something important. Even a strong and successful show can face challenges when key characters leave unexpectedly. One of the most emotional departures in MASH was the exit of Radar O'Reilly. Unlike some other characters, Radar was deeply loved by fans for his innocence and kindness. He had a soft personality and a unique ability to sense things before they happened, which made him special in the show. He was not just a comic character, he brought warmth and emotional depth to the series. However, the actor behind Radar was facing serious personal struggles in real life. The filming schedule of MASH was very demanding, with long hours and constant pressure. Over time, this became exhausting for him. More importantly, he began to feel that he was missing out on his personal life. He especially felt guilty about not spending enough time with his family and watching his child grow up. These feelings became stronger as time passed. Even though the producers tried to make adjustments and reduce his workload, it was not enough to solve the problem. Eventually, he made the decision to leave the show so he could focus on his family and mental health. Unlike some other exits, his departure was handled with care and emotion. His character was given a proper goodbye episode, where Radar leaves the army camp and returns home. One of the most touching moments is when he leaves behind his teddy bear, which symbolized his innocence and childhood. This simple act made the scene very emotional for fans. After leaving MASH, the actor chose to live a quiet life away from Hollywood. He focused on peaceful hobbies like painting and nature, staying away from fame and attention. Another key character was Frank Burns, who was known for being strict, jealous, and often annoying. He was not a fan favorite in the traditional sense, but he played an important role in the show's comedy and conflict. His personality created tension with other characters, especially Hawkeye and Trapper, which led to many funny and dramatic moments. However, over time, the actor who played Frank began to feel limited by the role. He felt that the character was not growing and that he was stuck playing the same type of personality again and again. This made him want to move on to other opportunities where he could explore different kinds of roles. As a result, he decided to leave the show. His exit marked another major change in the cast lineup. The show had to adjust once again and introduce new characters to replace him. While some fans missed his presence, others felt the show became smoother without constant conflict from his character. This departure showed how even characters designed to be disliked still play a very important role in making a show successful. Each exit in MASH was different, but together they shaped the evolution of the series. Some were emotional, some were sudden, and some were controversial. But all of them contributed to the story of how MASH became not just a TV show, but a long-lasting piece of television history that still interests people today. Even after several major actors left MASH, the show did not slow down. In fact, it kept growing stronger, which surprised many viewers and even the cast members themselves. Usually, when a TV show loses important characters, it becomes weak and loses audience interest. But MASH was different. The writers kept finding ways to adjust the story and introduce new characters who could fill the emotional and comedic gaps. This ability to survive constant change became one of the biggest strengths of the show. However, behind this success, there was always pressure. Every time a main actor left, it was not just a simple change. It affected the whole balance of the story. Other actors had to take on more responsibility, and new characters had to quickly win the trust of the audience. This created a constant cycle of adjustment and emotional tension behind the scenes. Even though viewers only saw the final polished episodes, the cast and crew were dealing with stress, long hours, and creative disagreements almost all the time. Some actors were comfortable with the direction of the show, while others felt it was slowly becoming different from what they originally signed up for. This difference in vision became one of the hidden reasons why multiple cast members eventually chose to leave. They were not just leaving a job, they were leaving a version of the show that no longer felt the same to them. As the series moved forward, another important theme began to appear in real life behind the scenes: burnout. Working on a long-running show like MASH was not easy. The filming schedule was demanding, and episodes were produced one after another with very little break. This meant the actors were often working under constant pressure. At the same time, because the show was becoming more popular, expectations from fans and producers were also increasing. Everyone wanted better performances, deeper emotions, and stronger stories. While this helped the show reach high quality, it also made the working environment more intense. Some actors started feeling emotionally tired. They were playing the same roles for years, and it became difficult to separate their real lives from their characters. This emotional weight affected their personal lives as well. Many of them had less time for family, friends, and normal everyday life. Over time, this led to a feeling of exhaustion that was not always visible on screen. When people later looked back at why actors left MASH, they often pointed to creative reasons, but burnout and personal well-being were also major hidden factors that played a big role in many decisions. Another important reason behind several departures was the natural evolution of the show itself. MASH did not stay the same over time. It slowly became more emotional, more serious, and more focused on deeper human stories rather than just comedy. This change was not accidental. It was a creative decision made by the writers and producers who wanted the show to reflect the reality of war and its emotional impact. However, not every actor adapted to this shift in the same way. Some enjoyed the deeper storytelling because it gave their characters more meaning. Others felt that the show was losing its original light and funny tone. This difference in creative direction created tension. Actors who preferred the earlier style sometimes felt out of place in the new direction of the series. They had joined the show expecting a certain tone and structure, but over time, that vision changed. This mismatch between expectation and reality is one of the quiet reasons why several cast members decided to move on. It was not always about conflict or anger. In many cases, it was simply about different creative paths going in different directions. Despite all these departures, MASH managed to leave a strong legacy in television history. Each actor who left the show added a new layer to its story. Some exits brought shock, some brought sadness, and others brought understanding. The death of Henry Blake shocked audiences and showed that even comedy shows could deliver painful realism. Trapper John's sudden exit reminded viewers that TV characters can disappear without warning. Radar's emotional farewell showed how deeply a character can connect with fans on a human level. Frank Burns' departure highlighted how even disliked characters are still essential for balance in storytelling. Together, these moments shaped MASH into more than just a sitcom. It became a show about life, change, loss, and growth. Even the departures themselves became part of its identity. Fans did not just remember the jokes or the war setting, they also remembered how the show handled endings. In many ways, MASH taught audiences that good stories are not just about beginnings, but also about how characters leave and how those endings make the story more meaningful. In the end, the real reason why actors left MASH was not just one simple answer. It was a combination of many factors working together. Some left because of creative differences, some because of personal exhaustion, and some because their life priorities changed. Others left because they wanted new challenges or felt their roles were changing too much. But what makes MASH special is that even with all these exits, it continued to tell powerful stories that connected with millions of people. The show adapted, evolved, and survived changes that would normally end other series. Today, when people look back at MASH, they do not just see a comedy show from the past. They see a piece of television history that reflected real human emotions, both on screen and behind the scenes. The departures of its actors were not just endings. They were part of a much bigger story about change, growth, and the reality of life in the entertainment world. Even after so many changes in the cast, MASH continued to prove that its strength was not just in individual actors, but in the way the entire story was built. The show had a unique ability to turn real human emotions into television moments that felt honest and powerful. This is one of the main reasons why, even after decades, people still talk about it. When actors left, many viewers thought the show might lose its charm. But instead, it adapted and evolved. New characters were introduced, and existing characters were given more depth and responsibility. This constant evolution made MASH feel alive, as if it was growing in real time along with its audience. However, behind this success was always a quiet truth. Change is never easy. Every departure meant saying goodbye not just to a character, but to a part of the emotional world that viewers had connected with. Fans had to adjust again and again, learning to accept new faces and new story directions. This emotional cycle of attachment and loss became one of the hidden reasons why MASH felt so real compared to other shows of its time. At the same time, the actors themselves were going through their own personal journeys. For some, leaving MASH was a way to find freedom and explore new opportunities. For others, it was a necessary step to protect their mental health, family life, or personal happiness. The entertainment industry often looks glamorous from the outside, but the reality is much more demanding. Long hours on set, constant pressure to perform, and the emotional weight of playing deep characters for years can slowly wear a person down. In the case of MASH, this was even more intense because the show dealt with serious themes like war, death, and human suffering. These were not light roles. They required emotional depth every day. Over time, this level of intensity made some actors feel exhausted. Even those who loved the show had to make difficult decisions about their future. Leaving was not always about conflict. In many cases, it was about survival and balance in real life. Another important thing that made MASH unique was how it treated endings. In many TV shows, when a character leaves, the exit is simple.